The station floated in the darkness between stars. It was old, older than human civilization itself. The metal walls had seen thousands of years of meetings, treaties, and decisions that shaped the galaxy. Today, it would see humanity for the first time. Admiral Park Tae-ho stood at the window of the small human shuttle. He watched the massive structure grow larger as they approached. Lights blinked across its surface like a city floating in space. He was 53 years old, and he had spent his entire adult life preparing for moments like this. But nothing had prepared him for what he felt now: fear, hope, and something else he could not name. Behind him, Dr. Yoon-hana reviewed her notes for the 100th time. She was the chief diplomat for Earth, chosen because she believed in peace more than anyone else. Her hair was tied back simply, and her face showed the tiredness of weeks of travel. But her eyes were sharp and focused. "Are you ready?" Tae-ho asked without turning around. "No," Hannah said honestly, "but I do not think anyone could be ready for this." The shuttle docked with a soft sound. The doors opened, and cold air rushed in. It smelled strange, like metal and something sweet that humans had no word for. 2 alien guards waited for them. They were tall, with forearms and skin that looked like blue stone. They said nothing, only gestured for the humans to follow. Tae-ho and Hannah walked through long hallways. The walls were covered with images of alien worlds, alien leaders, alien history. Nowhere did they see anything human. It was as if Earth did not exist. Finally, they entered a great chamber. It was round, with seats rising up on all sides like a bowl. 12 different species sat in those seats, watching the 2 humans with eyes of every color and shape. Some had faces. Some did not. Some breathed air. Others wore masks that pumped strange gases into their mouths. At the center of it all sat the High Arbiter. He was an insectoid, nearly 3 meters tall, with a body covered in hard black shell. His eyes were like dark mirrors, reflecting nothing. "Humanity," the High Arbiter said. His voice was not loud, but it filled the room. "You have been summoned to discuss your place in the Orion Council." Hannah stepped forward. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice was calm. "We are honored to be here. Earth wishes to join the galactic community as an equal partner. We bring knowledge, culture, and a desire for peace." A sound came from the seats above. It took Hannah a moment to realize it was laughter. "Equal partner," one of the aliens repeated. It was a creature with a long neck and silver skin. "Your species has existed for only a small moment in galactic time. You have not earned equality. We have earned our survival," Tae-ho said. His voice was harder than Hannah's. "We have built ships that cross the stars. We have cured diseases that once killed millions. You have also killed each other in endless wars," the High Arbiter interrupted. A screen appeared in the air, showing images of human history. Battles, bombs, cities burning, bodies lying in streets. "You are violent, unstable, dangerous." "We have also created art," Hannah said quickly. She waved her hand and new images appeared. Paintings, music, children laughing, people helping strangers. "We have philosophy that asks the deepest questions about existence. We have love. We have hope." The High Arbiter watched the images without expression. When they ended, he spoke again. "These things do not matter. What matters is safety. The safety of the Council. The safety of the galaxy." He raised one of his long arms. "Here are the terms of your integration. First, you will surrender all military vessels to the Council for inspection and storage. Second, you will limit your colonization to 3 star systems only. Third, your species will submit to genetic monitoring to ensure you remain controllable." The chamber was silent. Tae-ho felt his hands become fists at his sides. Beside him, Hannah had gone pale. "You are asking us to give up our freedom," Hannah said. "We are asking you to accept reality," the High Arbiter replied. "You are a young species. You need guidance. You need control. In time, perhaps in 1,000 years, you may earn more independence. But for now, these terms are not negotiable." Tae-ho stepped forward. The alien guards moved closer, but he ignored them. "And if we refuse?" The High Arbiter's dark eyes seemed to look through him. Then you will be contained. By force, if necessary. Do not think you are special, human. You are not the first young species to believe they deserve more than they have earned. You will not be the last to kneel. The words hung in the air like poison. Tahoe looked at the 12 species sitting above him. He looked at their ancient faces, their cold eyes, their absolute certainty that they were right. He thought about Earth. He thought about the children there, playing in parks, dreaming of the stars. He thought about what it would mean to tell them that their future had already been decided by creatures who saw them as nothing more than animals to be controlled. He turned to Hannah. She met his eyes. In that moment, no words were needed between them. They both understood. "Thank you for your time," Tahoe said. His voice was calm now. Calm and cold. "We have heard your terms. We reject them." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in languages that human ears could not understand. The High Arbiter raised his arms for silence. "You do not understand what you are doing," he said. "You cannot win a war against us. You cannot even survive one." "Perhaps," Tahoe said, "but we will not sell our children's future for a comfortable cage." He turned and walked toward the door. Hannah followed. Behind them, the High Arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber. "This is foolishness. You are condemning your species to destruction." Tahoe did not stop. He did not look back. The shuttle ride back to their ship was silent. Only when they were safely aboard their own vessel did Hannah speak. Her hands were shaking as she activated the communication system.
"Send the message," she said.
Code phrase, "The talks have failed. Initiate protocol exodus." The message flew across space at faster than light speed. It would reach Earth in hours. And when it did, everything would change. Tahoe stood at the window again, watching the alien station shrink behind them. He thought about what was coming. War, death, suffering. He did not want any of it. But some things were worth fighting for. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Hannah asked quietly. Tahoe was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I think we made the only choice we could live with." The stars stretched out before them, endless and cold. Somewhere out there, humanity was waiting. And soon, the galaxy would learn what humans could do when they had nothing left to lose. 3 years passed. The galaxy waited for humanity to break. They waited for the small blue planet to send desperate messages, begging for mercy. They waited for civil war, for collapse, for surrender. But Earth went silent. Not a single transmission reached the Council. Not a single human ship appeared in Council space. It was as if the entire species had simply vanished. The High Arbiter told the other Council members not to worry. "They are hiding," he said. "They are afraid. Soon, hunger and despair will force them to accept our terms. Humans are emotional creatures. They will break." But he was wrong. Deep in the outer reaches of the solar system, hidden behind a moon that had no name on any alien map, a secret base called Forge 9 burned with activity. Commander Bei Sunwoo stood on a platform overlooking the construction floor. Below her, thousands of workers moved like ants, building ships the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. Sunwoo was 41 years old. She had been an engineer before the failed summit, designing civilian transport ships. Now she designed weapons. The change had been difficult at first. She did not like violence. She did not like war. But she liked the idea of her niece growing up as a slave even less. "How many ships are ready?" a voice asked behind her. She turned to see Admiral Park Tae-ho. He looked older now. His hair had turned gray, and deep lines marked his face. The weight of what was coming pressed down on him every day. 347 warships, Sunwoo reported. Each one carries weapon systems we reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. We improved them, made them faster, made them stronger. Tae-ho nodded slowly. "Will it be enough?" Sunwoo was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, I do not know. The Council has thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. We cannot match them in numbers. Then we will have to be smarter," Tae-ho said. "Faster, more willing to sacrifice." On the other side of the solar system, another kind of work was happening. Sergeant Kong Nari sat alone in a dark room surrounded by screens showing alien faces, alien documents, alien secrets. She was an intelligence officer, and for 3 years, she had built a network of spies across the galaxy. It had not been easy. Humans could not simply walk into alien cities. They were too recognizable, too different. But Nari had found another way. She recruited aliens who were unhappy with the council. She bribed officials. She hacked communication systems. Slowly, piece by piece, she built a picture of the enemy. What she learned gave her hope. The Orion Council was not as strong as it appeared. Several species resented being controlled by the more powerful members. Old grudges existed between groups that had fought wars long before humans existed. The council was like a building with cracks in its foundation. It looked solid from the outside, but with the right pressure, it could break apart. Nari sent her reports to Earth every week through encrypted channels that no alien technology could detect. She included fleet movements, supply routes, and most importantly, the names of species that might stay neutral if war came. Back on Earth, preparations of a different kind were underway. General Ominho trained soldiers in ways the galaxy had never seen. Traditional warfare would not work against the Council. Humans were outnumbered too badly. So Minho taught something else. He called it asymmetric warfare. His soldiers learned to fight in small groups. They learned to strike fast and disappear. They learned to turn the enemy's strength into weakness. 100 humans could not beat 10,000 aliens in open battle. But 100 humans could destroy a supply depot and vanish before the aliens even knew. They were under attack. Minho trained his soldiers hard. He pushed them until they wanted to quit, then pushed them harder. Many cursed him. Some hated him. But all of them became stronger than they thought possible. Pain is temporary, Minho told them every morning. Freedom is forever. Choose which one you want to live with. The 3 years were not easy for anyone. Families were separated. Resources were rationed. Every factory on Earth produced materials for the war effort. Children grew up knowing that their world might end at any moment. But there was also something beautiful in those years. People who had once fought over small things came together for something larger. Old enemies became allies. Strangers became friends. Humanity had always been divided by borders, languages, and beliefs. Now, for the first time in history, they were truly one. Dr. Yoon Hannah traveled constantly, keeping spirits high. She visited factories and schools. She spoke at gatherings. She reminded people why they were fighting. The Council sees us as animals, she said. They think we will tear each other apart when times become hard. Let us prove them wrong. Let us show them what humanity can do when we stand together. People listened. People believed. When the 3 years ended, Admiral Taiho knew it was time. The fleet was ready. The soldiers were trained. The intelligence was gathered. There was nothing more to prepare. The only thing left was to fight. He recorded a message in a small room with a single camera. He did not wear a uniform or stand before a flag. He simply sat in a chair and spoke directly to the lens. This message is for the Orion Council and every species in the galaxy. 3 years ago, you demanded our surrender. You told us we were too young, too savage, too dangerous to be free. You offered us a cage and called it peace. He paused, and his eyes seemed to look through the camera at every alien who would watch this message. We refused. We will always refuse. From this day forward, the Orion Council is our enemy. We will fight you in every system. We will strike your ships, your stations, your supply lines. We will not stop until we are free or until we are ash. His voice hardened. You made a mistake. You thought our silence meant we were broken. Our silence meant we were preparing. Now you will learn what humanity does when it fights for survival. Now you will learn why you should have offered us partnership instead of chains. He leaned closer to the camera. We are coming. The message was sent to every corner of the galaxy. It appeared on screens in council chambers and military bases. It played in alien homes and on alien ships. For a moment, the entire galaxy watched a single human speak words that would change everything. Then the moment ended, and humanity struck. The war had begun. The first attack came without warning. In 1 hour, human strike teams hit 43 different targets across the galaxy. Communication relays went dark. Supply stations exploded. Shipyards burned. The Council had expected humanity to gather around Earth, building walls and waiting for death. Instead, humans were everywhere, striking like ghosts and vanishing into the darkness of space. Captain Chen Sora led the assault on the Velen shipyards. It was one of the Council's largest military production facilities, a massive structure that built warships by the hundreds. Taking it down would hurt the enemy badly. But the mission was almost impossible. Sora's crew numbered only 60. The station was defended by 3,000 alien soldiers. Sora did not care about the numbers. She had volunteered for this mission because she understood something most people did not. War was not won by counting soldiers. War was won by people willing to do what the enemy thought was impossible. Her ship approached the station disguised as a cargo vessel. The aliens scanned it and saw nothing dangerous. They allowed it to dock. That was their first mistake. The moment the docking bay doors closed, Sora's team moved. They wore light armor and carried weapons designed for close combat. They did not try to fight the station's defenders directly. Instead, they headed for the reactor core. The fighting was brutal. Alien soldiers poured into the corridors, but Sora's team had trained for exactly this kind of battle. They used the station's own structure against the defenders, setting traps, creating distractions, and always moving toward their target. Sora herself killed 11 aliens during the assault. Her hands were steady, her mind clear. She thought about her parents, who had died when their colony was pacified by Council forces 2 years earlier. She thought about her younger brother, who was still on Earth, waiting for news. She did not fight for revenge. She fought so that no other family would suffer what hers had suffered. They reached the reactor room with 17 survivors. The rest of her crew had fallen. Sora planted the explosives herself, setting the timer for 10 minutes. Just enough time to escape, but as they ran back toward the docking bay, alien reinforcements blocked their path. Hundreds of soldiers filled the corridor ahead. There was no way through. Dotsure made her decision in less than a second. "Get to the escape pods," she told her surviving crew. "I will clear the path." Before anyone could argue, she ran toward her ship. It was damaged, but still functional. She climbed into the cockpit and powered up the engines. The aliens started shooting, but she ignored the impacts. She aimed her ship at the corridor wall and accelerated. The crash tore open a hole large enough for her crew to escape. Sora herself was thrown from the wreckage, bleeding and broken. But she was alive. Her crew dragged her to an escape pod just as the explosives detonated. The Velen shipyards burned for 7 days. The fire could be seen from 3 systems away. It was humanity's first great victory of the war, while soldiers like Sora fought with weapons. Dr. Yoon Hana fought with words. She traveled in secret to neutral space, meeting with representatives of species that were unhappy with the Council. The Silari were her best hope. They were a peaceful species, forced into the Council centuries ago when their homeworld was conquered. They had no love for their masters, but they were afraid. The Council was powerful, and the Silari had seen what happened to species that rebelled. Hannah met their ambassador in a small room on a trading station. The ambassador was thin, with large eyes that showed every emotion. Right now, those eyes showed fear. "You are asking us to betray the Council," the ambassador said. "If we do this and you lose, our entire species will be punished." "I am not asking you to fight," Hannah replied gently. "I am only asking you to do nothing. Stay neutral. Do not send ships against us. Do not share information about our movements." The ambassador was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke again. "Why should we trust you? You are humans. You are violent," as Hannah admitted. "We are capable of great violence, but we are also capable of great loyalty. Help us now, and we will remember. When this war ends, and it will end, the Solari will have a friend in humanity. A friend who does not forget. Ambassador thought about this. Then she nodded slowly. We will stay neutral. But if you lose, this meeting never happened. Hannah smiled. If we lose, it will not matter. Over the following months, Hannah convinced 3 more species to stay out of the war. Each one was a small victory, but together they made a difference. The council could not trust all of its members anymore. Doubt spread like a disease. The council's response to humanity's attacks was overwhelming force. 3 massive armadas, each containing hundreds of ships, were sent to destroy Earth directly. The High Arbiter himself gave the order. End them, he said. End them completely. Let their world become a warning to any species that thinks of defying us. But General Ominho had prepared for this. The armadas entered the solar system, expecting easy victory. Instead, they found traps. Minho had scattered thousands of mines throughout the outer system. Decoy signals made it seem like human ships were everywhere and nowhere at once. The alien commanders became confused, their formations breaking apart as they chased phantom enemies. 2 of the armadas were led into a kill zone near Neptune. Hidden human ships emerged from the planet's rings and attacked from every direction. The aliens had more ships, but they were caught in a crossfire with no room to maneuver. The Battle of the Outer Ring lasted 18 hours. When it ended, humanity had lost 60 ships. The Council had lost 400. Admiral Taiho watched the battle from his command ship, his face showing no emotion. When the last alien vessel retreated, he allowed himself a single moment of relief. Then he turned to his officers. This is not the end, he said. The Council will send more ships. They will keep sending ships until we stop them or they stop us. We need to find a way to end this war before they wear us do. When the 3rd Armada, which had taken a different route, was still approaching Earth, but the victory at the Outer Ring had bought time. Precious time to prepare the next move. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive animals now watched with new eyes. The young species from the small blue planet had done what no one thought possible. They had hurt the Council. The war was far from over. But for the first time, the galaxy wondered if maybe, just maybe, the humans could win. 2 years of war had changed everything. The galaxy that once seemed so permanent now felt fragile like glass ready to shatter. The Council had lost more ships and soldiers than in the previous 1,000 years combined. But humanity had paid a terrible price as well. Entire colonies were gone, burned to ash by Council fleets. Nearly half the human navy had been destroyed. Millions of people had died. Their names now carved into memorial walls across Earth. Admiral Park Taiho looked older than his years. His hair had gone completely white, and his eyes carried a weight that never lifted. He stood in the war room on Earth, surrounded by maps and screens showing the state of the galaxy. The situation was simple and terrible. Humanity was running out of time. Cannot win a long war, General Lominho said, his voice tired. We have hurt them badly, but they have more resources than us. If this continues for another 2 years, attrition will finish us. Everyone in the room knew this was true. The Council could replace its losses. Humanity could not. Every ship destroyed, every soldier killed, brought them closer to defeat. Then we end it quickly, Taiho said. He activated a holographic display. A massive space station appeared, floating in the glow of stars at the galactic core. It was beautiful and terrifying, a structure so large it had its own gravity. The Throne of Unity, Taiho explained. The Council's central command? Every order, every fleet movement, every major decision flows through this station. If we destroy it, the Council loses its ability to coordinate. The room was silent. Everyone understood what he was suggesting. The Throne of Unity was the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. Attacking it was not a battle. It was suicide. Sergeant Kong Nari spoke first. My intelligence network has mapped their defenses. There are weaknesses. Small ones, but they exist. A fast strike force, moving before they can react, might be able to break through. Might Minho repeated. The odds are not good. The odds have never been good, Taiho replied. We did not start this war because we thought we would win icily. We started it because losing slowly was worse than fighting fast. He looked around the room at the faces of his officers, men and women who had given everything for this moment. I am not going to order anyone to do this. This mission will likely be one way, but I believe it is our best chance. Our only chance. One by one, they nodded. The decision was made. The operation was called Last Light. It would use everything humanity had left. Every surviving warship, every fighter, every soldier who could hold a weapon. They would strike the throne of unity with all their remaining strength. Lieutenant Zhou. Do-Yun volunteered to lead the fighter squadrons. He was 24 years old, one of the youngest officers in the fleet. But he had proven himself in a dozen battles. His pilots trusted him completely. The night before the mission, Do-Yun sat in his small quarters and recorded a message. His younger sister was 15 now, living on Earth with their aunt. Their parents had died when their colony was destroyed early in the war. His sister was all the family he had left. Hey, he said to the camera, trying to smile. If you are watching this, it means I did not come back. I want you to know something. I am not doing this because I hate the Council. Hate is not enough to make someone fly into a battle they probably will not survive. He paused, searching for the right words. I am doing this because I love you. Because I want you to live in a galaxy where no one can tell us we do not deserve to exist. Where your children and their children can look at the stars and see possibility, not chains. Tears formed in his eyes, but his voice stayed steady. Be brave. Be kind. Live a good life. And when you look up at the night sky, remember your brother loved you enough to fight for your future. He ended the recording and sent it to be delivered only if he died. Then he went to sleep, knowing it might be his last night alive. The attack began at dawn, Earth time. The human fleet jumped into the galactic core in a single massive wave. The Throne of Unity's defenders responded immediately. But they were not prepared for the ferocity of the assault. Commander Bei Sunwoo led the main attack force from her flagship, the Unbroken. She had rebuilt this ship herself after the Velen shipyard assault. It was not the largest ship in the fleet, but it was the strongest. All ships push forward, she ordered. Do not stop. Do not hesitate. We end this today. The battle was chaos. Ships exploded on both sides. Energy beams crossed the darkness like deadly light. Fighters weaved between the larger vessels, their pilots pushing themselves beyond human limits. The Unbroken took hit after hit. Fires broke out on 3 decks. The shields failed completely. But Sunwoo kept the guns firing, kept pushing forward. When a Council warship moved to block their path, Sunwoo made a choice. Ramming speed, she ordered calmly. Her officers stared at her. Commander, we will not survive. The mission survives, she interrupted. All hands abandon ship. That is an order. Her crew ran to the escape pods while Sunwoo stayed at her station. She watched the enemy ship grow larger in her view screen. She thought about her niece, about the future that little girl deserved. Then she smiled. The Unbroken struck the enemy vessel with the force of a small sun. Both ships vanished in a flash of light. But the path was clear, Captain. Chen Sora, recovered from her injuries and commanding a captured alien vessel, led the breakthrough force. Her ship punched through the station's shields at the exact point Nari's intelligence had identified as weakest. We are through, she shouted into the cum. All fighters, follow me in. Lieutenant Cho Do-Yan heard her call and pushed his fighter forward. Behind him, 200 pilots followed. They flew into the station's interior, dodging defensive fire, heading for the central reactor. The fighting inside the station was brutal. Alien soldiers tried to stop them, but the human pilots were unstoppable. They had come too far, lost too much. Nothing would turn them back now. Do-Yan reached the reactor core first. He armed his ship's payload, a weapon designed specifically for this moment. The aliens were trying to stop him, but his wingmates held them off, dying one by one to buy him time. For Earth, he whispered. For everyone we lost. For everyone who comes after. He fired. The explosion was visible from space. The Throne of Unity, the symbol of council power for 6,000 years, broke apart. Pieces of it fell toward the black hole at the galactic core, swallowed by darkness. Of the 10,000 humans who began the assault, fewer than 800 survived to escape. Commander Bei Sunwoo was found 3 days later, drifting in an escape pod that she must have reached in the seconds before the Unbroken exploded. She was barely alive, but she was alive. Lieutenant Cho Do-yoon survived as well. His ship was destroyed, but he ejected moments before impact. He was rescued by Captain Sora herself. "You did it," she told him as he lay bleeding in her cargo bay. "We did it," he corrected her. Then he lost consciousness. The Throne of Unity was gone. The Council's central command was destroyed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The destruction of the Throne of Unity did not end the war immediately, but it broke something in the Council that could never be repaired. Without their central command, the 12 species turned on each other. Old grudges exploded into open conflict. Fleets that should have been hunting humans instead fought among themselves. The Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 6,000 years, began to collapse. 3 species defected within the first month. They sent messages to Earth asking for peace and alliance. 2 more followed within a year. The remaining species, exhausted and divided, sued for peace. The war that should have destroyed humanity had instead destroyed the old order of the galaxy. Admiral Park Tae-ho received the news while standing in a hospital room. Commander Bei Sunwoo lay in the bed before him, covered in bandages, connected to machines that kept her alive. She had been in a coma since her rescue. The doctors said she might never wake up. "We won," Tae-ho said quietly, though he was not sure if she could hear him. "Because of you? Because of everyone who fought?" Sunwoo's eyes remained closed, but her hand, resting on the blanket, moved slightly. Just a small twitch. Tae-ho took it as a sign. The peace negotiations took place on a small moon in neutral space. Tae-ho led the human delegation, just as he had led the original diplomatic mission 5 years earlier. So much had changed since then. He had been younger then, still believing that words alone could solve problems. Now he knew the truth. Sometimes you had to fight before you could talk. The surviving council leaders sat across from him. They looked to fear. NT now, smaller somehow. The certainty that had filled them at the first summit was gone. In its place was something else. Fear, perhaps, or respect. Maybe both. The High Arbiter was not among them. He had died when the Throne of Unity fell, crushed beneath the weight of his own ambition. Tae-ho did not gloat. He did not make speeches about human superiority. He simply placed a document on the table between them. "These are our terms," he said calmly. "Every species is equal. Every species is free. No one will be contained. No one will be controlled. These terms are not negotiable." One of the alien leaders, a tall being with scales like silver mirrors, spoke carefully. "And if we accept these terms, what then?" "Then we help you rebuild," Tae-ho replied. "We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. We only want to live in it as equals. The war hurt all of us. Let us heal together." The aliens looked at each other. They had expected demands. Punishment, revenge. They had not expected kindness. After a long silence, the silver-scaled leader nodded. "We accept." The document was signed. The war was officially over. In the months that followed, a new government was formed. They called it the Galactic Assembly. Unlike the Council, it had no rulers, no masters. Every species, from the oldest to the youngest, had an equal voice. Decisions were made together. Through negotiation and compromise, Dr. Yoon Hannah became the first human ambassador to the Assembly. She worked 18 hours a day, meeting with representatives from dozens of species, building relationships that would last for generations. It was harder than the war in some ways. Violence was simple. Peace was complicated. The Council tried to control the galaxy through fear, she said during her first speech to the Assembly. That method failed. Let us try something different. Let us build trust. Let us choose cooperation over domination. We have all lost too much to waste this chance." Her words were translated into 100 languages and broadcast across the stars. Slowly, carefully, the galaxy began to heal. Commander Bei Sunwoo woke from her coma 3 months after the war ended. Her body was badly damaged. The doctors said she would need years of therapy to walk again. But when she heard what had happened, what her sacrifice had helped achieve, she smiled for the first time in months. She retired to a quiet colony world, far from the centers of power. She spent her days teaching young engineers about ship design. She never talked about the war unless her students asked. But sometimes, late at night, she would look up at the stars and remember the crew of the Unbroken. She remembered their faces, their names, their dreams. They had given everything. She would make sure they were never forgotten. Captain Chen Sora became a legend. Songs were written about her. Children played games where they pretended to be the captain, who had destroyed the Velen shipyards and led the art to break through at the throne of unity. But Sora herself wanted none of it. 2 months after the war, she took her ship and vanished into the frontier, the unexplored regions of the galaxy where no species had ever gone. She sent occasional messages back to Earth, describing strange worlds and impossible wonders. But she never returned to civilization. Some said she was searching for something. Others said she was running from something. Only Sora knew the truth. She was not telling. Lieutenant Cho Doyon went home. His sister was waiting at the spaceport when he arrived. She was taller now, almost a young woman. When she saw him walking toward her, she ran. He caught her in his arms and held her tight. "You came back," she whispered. "I promised," he said. They lived together in a small house near the ocean. Doyen had nightmares sometimes, memories of the battle that would not fade. But his sister was patient with him. She understood that some wounds took time to heal. He kept his promise. She grew up in a galaxy where humanity stood tall, where no one could tell them they did not deserve to exist. Sergeant Kong Neri continued her work in the shadows. The war was over, but threats remained. New powers would rise. Old enemies might return. Someone needed to watch, to prepare, to ensure that humanity was never caught unprepared again. She built a new intelligence network, larger and more sophisticated than before. Her agents watched every corner of the galaxy. When problems appeared, she dealt with them quietly before they could grow into crises. Most people never knew her name. That was how she preferred it. Admiral Park Tai-ho gave one final address before retiring. He stood on a stage in front of 1 million people, with billions more watching across the stars. "We did not want this war," he said. "We went to that first summit with open hands, offering partnership. They answered with threats. They told us we were too small, too young, too savage to matter." He paused, looking out at the sea of faces before him. They were wrong. Not because we are stronger than them. In many ways, we are not. Not because we are smarter. In many ways, we are not. They were wrong because they forgot the most important truth in the universe. His voice grew stronger. Species that fights for its children's future cannot be defeated, only delayed. We fought for our children. We fought for your children, and we won. Not because we were invincible, but because we refused to give up. He smiled, and in that smile was all the pain and hope of the last 5 years. We are humanity, and we are just getting started. The crowd erupted in cheers that seemed to shake the earth itself. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once there had been masters and servants, now there were partners. Where once there had been fear, now there was hope. It would not be easy. Building a better future never was. But for the first time in 6,000 years, every species in the galaxy had the same chance in humanity. The young species from the small blue planet had earned its place among the stars.